Hi everyone, good morning. It's Hira here, and first of all, welcome, very, very warm welcome to all the coaches. We are 31, including me, so that's really great. We have coaches everywhere in the United States, East Coast, West Coast, and other places. We've got London covered. Two coaches in London, one coach in Amsterdam, Holland, potentially one in France. We've got two in India, and one in Nicaragua, and I think there's some others that I'm missing as well. So it's, yeah, basically just to say that it's a great international team, which is what we wanted. So I'm very, very, very grateful. Thank you so much for agreeing to serve as a coach slash mentor on our new platform. And I hope that everything's been pretty smooth so far. Apologies for being we are a little bit behind schedule, and well, I guess in some ways that's, I mean, it is our, Careerly itself has been around for, 4 years, but the network is brand new. And so, being a month behind is probably to be expected. Okay, so today this training is specific to the content of career coaching, and I also want to then cover the business development piece of it, because I know several of you are interested in that, because that's actually a bigger revenue generator than the coaching. So let me just go through some of the coaching best practices first, and then we'll address the rev share deals that we have in part 2. So with that, just to recap, there was the sessions that Sam Scarden did, and he focused on Acuity. I can never pronounce the name properly, but that's our scheduling system that we've bought and integrated onto the platform. And so he's covered all of that with you guys. And if you were not able to be at either of the sessions, it's very simple. The recording is there. You can watch it. In fact, I'd recommend watching it later, like when you're actually putting in your appointments into Acuity. That's a good time because it'll be more like as you're doing it, you'll find it very useful to go through the different things that Sam is talking about. Okay, so hopefully everyone's going to be able to get that done and ready and have your times put into the system by 21st of September, and that then gives students time to book. And hopefully, the first official day of coaching is the 1st of October. Okay. All right. So Careerly coaching best practices. This is really just really to help you as much as we can, because, of course, all of you have full-time jobs, and, this is something you're doing on the go, and as a sort of an additional part-time initiative. And so we kind of want to make sure we have streamlined everything as much as possible. You have templates and best practice documents, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And we'll make sure that all the documents are in one place. Critical documents that I will talk about today, Sam will send those to you by email, but we'll ensure that all the documents are collectively in one place so that you can access these documents. Okay. The other reason that I do like to have our material used is simply because then there is a standardization, right? So that students feel like I absolutely am 100%, 150% behind the fact that every single one of you, every single coach is a 5-star coach. And all of you, I did every single interview personally because I was looking for something special, and I think I found it in all of you. So, so I don't want to take away from your, excuse me, agency in, really, I mean, coaching, a lot of it is, it's from the heart, and it's from the special relationship or connection you make with the student. And we don't want to, in any way, shape, or form, constrain your style, and your approach and all of that. So, but that said, for the purposes of making sure that every student, everyone is a paying customer, that everybody gets the same value, right? And we like to have high standards, and that everyone kind of gets the expected level of service from Careerly. So that's why the whole personalized thing is important as well. Okay. Okay, so first of all, what we like to do is at the end of every appointment, so remember, appointments are a half hour. Now, consulting requires usually to do the case interview, right? So the case interviews usually take about 45 minutes, right? Like, to actually administer the case, and then I have them, they have to do their recommendation, and then you have to kind of give them feedback. So all of that tends to take about 45 minutes, and and then you also have other things you might have to attend to with those kinds of longer sessions. But typically it's half hour. So what we say is, if a student wants a consulting case prep interview, give them the choice and say, look, we can do it in half an hour. We'll have to kind of do a very quick case, rush through it. And maybe that's all the time they have, and that's their choice. Maybe they want to use just one coaching credit, right? They don't want to waste up 2 appointments, or they can do a very thorough, very in-depth case. And so I would just say, and this could also be for other reasons, where they make an appointment, not a 1 half hour slot, but a sequential half hours. So like they make an appointment for an hour with you. I would just make sure that, this is just played by, if you think you can get it done in half an hour, and it's a better value for their money, then recommend that. If you think that you need and you really do need the full hour, the student really needs the help, then recommend that, okay? So the one thing that we like to do after every single appointment is to send a personalized email to the student, right? And so this is something that goes out after every single appointment, and essentially it's a way of recapping a little bit. You'd have already, whatever you have done, you've already now given them some feedback in the session, right? Or you've been working with them on certain things, whether it's the interview questions or resume, cover letter, all of that. So the point of the email is to kind of just bring it all together, right, for them, but also it's just, to me, it's thorough. It's a very, very nice thing to do, to send a student an email and say, we're really happy to meet you, and just to summarize some of the pointers that you probably already gave, and then some of the next steps and recommendations that you're suggesting, right? So now for that, we have templates, right? I mean, the coaching, the consulting case email is a little bit special, right? Because we do want to give them, there's a whole sort of pretty thorough framework we have, and we like to kind of include all that information. And so that's one template if you're doing the case prep. If it's not the case prep, then we'll have other templates to use so that you can easily adapt it and fill in what you need to fill in, and then just be able to send that out within 5 minutes. Okay. And then feel free to, if you find that, for example, our template, something doesn't really suit, but you keep, coaching the same students over and over, and if you wanted to develop, I mean, it's as long as your offshoot is in line with, basic careerly standards and principles, it's fine. You can go ahead and like even create your own little teaching materials and templates, okay? And then, so that's the first thing, the email to the students. The second thing is use careerly standardized materials, right? So we have, Careerly has resume templates, right? So the one-page resume is the resume that most of them are going to need. The undergraduate version is a little bit different to the graduate version, and then of course, there are some programs and some students in a situation where a two-page resume might be more appropriate. Sometimes, occasionally, students ask for what are called functional resumes, so not the chronological, historical one, the functional one, which, again, that's usually rare. But again, so we have those are careerly templates, and what we have done is we have taken care of all the formatting, right? So they don't waste time, because there are some very clear formatting rules for, at least as far as recruiting for the big recruiting for banking or consulting or tech, or and they know you've gone to the top university. I mean, there are some basic things that expected. And so what we have done is we have already like done the work for you when you're working with the students on their resumes, and also to the student ultimately, right? So we've taken care of the formatting and ensured that that's just all done, right? So really what they just need to do is use one of our templates and get their resume content into that. Now, there's one big caveat, and make sure you do stress this, and we also stress this on our documents, that if they should use their school's template as the first port of call, right? So because a lot of times schools are very specific about their template, and often they'll say you need to have our template to be approved to the resume book, right? Now, some universities are not that sophisticated, and we have worked with several universities where we actually had to design their, get things in order for them and get them the actual standardized materials, because they didn't have any. And some are fine with also, kind of saying to students, look, here are some suggested materials, and they kind of go, it's not their school's template, it's just materials out there, and they're like, we recommend X resume or Y resume. So it depends. I mean, it really depends on the school. So make sure you ask them, do they have a template that they're supposed to use specifically for resume books, for employer recruiting and all of that. And then you can sort of show them our stuff. Now, normally there should be overlap, because we've developed our Careerly materials very much based off of our own experience coaching. So there's a lot of, Georgetown in there. There's a lot of Wharton in there. For the STEM students, the Hopkins the type of. So we've also organized our things based on market sort of information as to what employers are looking for in different industries. So hopefully that should make it easy for you. And so we have, like I said, resume templates. We have a resume, really good resume samples per industry. We have cover letters. And now, again, so we have a very specific method for writing cover letters. And it's covered, I cover it in videos. I cover it in... we have samples, we have samples by different industry. So really, we would like it if you could use that, use our frameworks and use our methodologies, if nothing else, because then everybody's getting the same thing, right? And again, like I said, I don't think any of you, I mean, if you, I would love to hear back from you, and, please feel free to share any feedback or comments you have if you feel like any of our materials are, either just like there's something that's just that you think really needs to be changed. Let us know. I mean, this is basically just based off of our last 4 years of coaching about our 4,000-5,000 students, and different schools and all of that. So I would say yes. I mean, use, and it's also easier for you, right, than having to constantly reinvent the wheel. We've got, and we've got networking email. That's a big one, networking emails. Students just don't. They're often told by their schools that they need to, networking is a big deal, and they have to write to alumni. But a lot of these students, especially international students, have absolutely no idea, like, what a networking email is. And we really, really go through that, the concept of, like, there's so many things, right, like that you should keep it to one ask. You should make sure that the subject line says you're an alumni, that you're a student requesting an alumni meeting. So there are all these things that are critical, simple things, but you'd be amazed at, how much students don't know these things. And so, again, we have best practice, we have training on it, videos and all of that, and we also have best practice email examples for different contexts. And then finally, same with LinkedIn profiles. Now, this is not something that a lot of students, they're not obligated to do them. Schools don't usually push them, but, I think the most enterprising students are the ones who really kind of take their LinkedIn profiles seriously. And again, you can kind of read the Careerly materials on this, but so we really say that, your LinkedIn profile is very important. The summary section of your LinkedIn profile is absolutely critical, and your way of crafting that summary section is going to be a key driver in how you come across to people who find you, but also the idea that because it's a search SEO optimized platform, how you use particular words and all that kind of. Anyway, so that's in a whole other. So we have a LinkedIn guide that covers that, and gives you examples, gives the students examples of different types of LinkedIn profiles. And then the coaching notes, I think that was already covered. Sam went through that and also sent out my document on coaching notes. So please do take that seriously and try to get that done. And I know this from, like, having done this, like, year after year after year, and, like, sometimes I have like 14 appointments back to back, and it's just, the easiest thing is to have it open. I mean, you're on Accoudi, and Accoudi happens to be really, really easy in terms of putting in student notes. It's like one of the easiest systems for that, because it actually pulls up your appointment and there's the note box right there, right? So what you can do is quickly just note down. It's almost like just note down just what you need to know so that later on you can fill that in. Now, sometimes the student appointment is short, or sometimes you have time between appointments. I mean, there'll be plenty of times where you can fill in that, right? Worst comes to worst and you have a day where it's back to back, whatever, then that can be handled later. So, but it is important. I know that, and I'll admit, I'm not, I think coaching notes are so very important, but I, always think I'll do it later, and I don't. So at least what I do now is I just jot down, like, quick things. I mean, it's not even edited. It's completely, like, the spelling is crazy, but I just do that for that moment so that later on I can go in there and do a more thorough job. And so the coaching notes really are very, very important, and Sam went through this, so I don't need to repeat it too much, but it's a balance between, I mean, I like thorough coaching notes. I mean, the idea here isn't to, like, you don't need to report to us as in, I did this and I did that, and we're not, I trust all of you. It's more like what information is critical to that student's success, right? So you would have picked up on some good points, you'd have picked up on some not so great points, you might have even picked up on some major red flags, right? So it's critical to write down these things so that for you next time, or for other coaches, or careerly in general, as a service, like we know students who we need to kind of especially help out. And again, these are, in our model at the moment, they are the paying customers. It's very important that we go above and beyond. And even if it was, even if it's a university that's paying, and we still need to be thorough with the job that we do on behalf of students. And that's kind of why I want them to be thorough. It's not to do with you kind of like accounting for what you did. It's really about serving them, and to serve them, the more you can put in there, the better, right? So there's that. And of course, but I think Sam covered this, you have to balance that with making sure that, sensitive information is written in a way that protects the student's privacy. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much a few more items. Be on top of what is in this. So Kareli has a weekly newsletter, and it goes out on Mondays. Now, it may not happen every Monday, but we're going to aim for it to be out every Monday. And usually it covers, about 5 items, right? We always start off, it's a Monday. It's called, Making Monday. I can't remember now something about liking Monday, or making Monday popular or something. Making Monday great again is probably what we should call it now. So, so that newsletter has been really, really popular with students and just Kareli clients in the past. And, we really kind of want to take our game up on that front. And the idea is to, any given issue will highlight for students some important. Maybe I've made a new video. Maybe they need to revisit. Maybe it's resume time, so they need to look at some of the videos that I have done on resumes. It could be anything, really. It could be what's happening in the recruiting schedule at the moment. It's just, we always try to think of, okay, what are the top 5 things that are critical to get to students that week, right? And then in addition, what we're going to do, especially in the beginning, because getting the word out and getting students kind of subscribed is important, we will probably also do one-offs, right? So, for example, Grad Chat is, I don't know if Sam mentioned Grad Chat to you, and we'll certainly send out an email about it once we've got that sorted out. But it's a chat function. It's very much like WeChat and something like WeChat, WhatsApp, but it's for the community, right? So that students can speak to each other. They can chat with if they've bought the coaching package, they can chat with their coaches, and we'll figure out, obviously, that you're not going to get bombarded with chat messages. But the idea is that the chat function creates a community, right? So that's one example of where we might send out a weekly, other than the Monday communication, we'll send out another Kareli communication that is like all about Grad Chat, or we might send something out. There might be something super critical for students, right? Maybe very often with the international students, with the H-1B thing, is so much in flux and things are changing. I can foresee that, things happen, and usually we are the first to market, right? So like, for example, when the travel ban happened, or when the H-1B overhaul was announced, then when there were 3 H-1B bills that were introduced on the floor and in Congress. And so these are all things that we immediately were on top of. We quickly made a quick analysis, and we got the message out there, either through a video or just posting on Facebook, things like that. So now with the newsletter being active, it's another place for us to, we can blast out one topic emails where necessary. So what's relevant for you is to keep abreast of what we're telling them, right? Whether it's the stuff we cover in the Monday newsletter, or the random communications, because it's important. We're highlighting something important to them, and the coaches should be aware of like the company's communications Careerly's communications with the students, right? So I would also say with that, make sure that Careerly is, it's about content, and it's about industry specific content, which means we're constantly making videos, or we're making some kind of like guide, we are adding templates, or we're adding best practice samples. And so I would say, keep on top of our content, because that's how you add value, right? I mean, well, you add value by being you and bringing your special talent to the table for the students. But, the fact that we have so much content, I mean, it's one of those things where there's no other site that has proprietary content, right? And we have so much of it, and so much of it is like industry specific. It's just great because students, where would they find that, right? So knowing everything that we have available and making sure that you use as much of that to help the student is great. Now, of course, you add value by, I mean, for example, let's say you work at Amazon, and you can still, there's a delta of value that you can add, whether it's a resume or a cover letter or interview prep or whatever, because there's that delta that's specific to your company, right? And or to your industry. So you definitely want to be bringing that piece to the table. Oh, small note, which reminds me, be careful with what you're not, all of you have jobs at your companies. They all have policies on, confidentiality and IP and all of that. So just be careful about what you are allowed to share or not share. Now, from our perspective, the more we can give the students, the better it is, right? Like even just if you're at a company, I mean, just about the culture of the company, or it could be a team they're trying to join that isn't really, kind of going anywhere, or it could be a team that is actually sort of will be growing in the future. So these are things that are so valuable. However, you have to, it's your, you have to be careful about whether, these are things you can share or not. I personally would say err on the side of caution. Be careful. Ultimately, they are your full-time employers, and so don't do anything that could compromise your job, right? Because, and also, that compromises you working for us, and if we lose you, that's a shame. So try to, there are ways to share information with students without being, sort of overstepping into company sensitive information. And it's case by case, and only you will really know that. Okay. So any of these things, and I think Sam mentioned this, I mean, if there's any issue that you have, like whether it's that kind of sharing that information or what you should put in a coaching order. I mean, if you have any doubts or any, just, I mean, this is very important, right? Because our reputation really depends on our ability to like protect our students' data, and also our coaches' ability to, just navigate this and not kind of get into trouble with their companies. So this kind of thing, if you ever have a doubt, please reach out. And I'm 100% available for that, okay? And I'll try to react within 24 hours or less, and it's a priority for me. So don't ever feel like, I mean, just you can send me a text message. You can, well, once you're on Grad Chat, hopefully this will be good. But you can send me an email, or just call me and leave a voice message. So that's really all I have to say in terms of our materials. Please use our materials. Make sure that you're on top of our materials. Look out for new materials as we add them. Subscribe to the newsletter, and make sure that you're on top of what we are communicating to students. And finally, the small things like the email to the students and the coaching notes. And I think we've given you plenty of examples and best practices on that, so it should be okay. If there's anything you feel like you need more help with, or is missing, or you feel like it's, for your particular vertical, you don't feel like, this, maybe you feel like these cover letters don't work and you need to figure something else out. And so we'll work with you to get that done, okay? So that's that for part one, and now I'm gonna take a quick break here, and then we'll move on to part two, which is about the marketing and rev share and all of that. I know several of you are very interested in that. You don't have to watch that video if you're not, but it's you probably should. I mean, there is a lot of passive income that will, every referral, every student that signs up using your code, you get a fee. And then of course there's many other ways of earning revenue. So I want to make sure that I go through that very carefully with you. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye.